Earlier in June, Apple announced its newest product, the HomePod. Priced at $350 and set to debut later this year in December, Apple is set to take on Amazon and Google, as well as other companies that make high-end speakers like Sonos. Now, while many thought Apple was just going to release a device to compete with the Amazon Echo and the Google Home, it was clear after WWDC's keynote that that is not what Apple is doing here at all. Apple is really honing in on music playback and speaker quality as far as how everything sounds coming out of it. So now to the million-dollar question. What impact is the HomePod going to have on the smart speaker ecosystem in general, and especially on its competition, the Google Home and the Amazon Echo? Well, I think that Apple is definitely going to sell a lot of the HomePods this Christmas because, let's be real here, we're talking about an Apple product. What I think is less clear is who's actually going to buy the HomePod. I think a lot of people who already wanted smart speakers already went out and got them. Smart speakers aren't that expensive to begin with. You're just throwing out $130, $170, and typically Apple's customer base are pretty affluent. So if you're an affluent person who's really into tech and you want to try the latest and greatest thing, the chances are you probably already have either an Amazon Echo or a Google Home. And then the other section of the market Apple seems to try to be cornering is the section that cares about high-end speakers. And likewise, a lot of these consumers have already invested heavily in Bose or Sonos speakers, and who knows if they're really going to be drawn to a HomePod when it's not really clear if the HomePod itself will work with all the speakers you already have in your home. So who is the HomePod really for? Well, I think it boils down into two categories. One, Apple Music subscribers, and two, just general fans of Apple. Now, Apple didn't say whether or not they're going to support other third-party music streaming services for the HomePod. They only announced it with Apple Music. Now, I still think a lot of people are going to end up buying the HomePod regardless because one, it's an Apple product, and two, it's a high-quality premium home speaker. But one feature of the HomePod that I don't think quite has enough draw to it is Siri. Apple didn't announce any major enhancements in Siri at WWDC, and quite frankly, the Google Assistant and Amazon's Alexa have just surpassed Siri in about every category. I just don't think Siri's features are enough for people to shell out $350 for another device that has Siri on it alone. This is probably why Apple decided to leave with music playback with their marketing for the HomePod versus with Siri. So is Apple going to sell a lot of these devices? Well, yeah, sure. Apple sells a lot of everything. I mean, their Mac business is like its own Fortune 500 company. Hell, Fortune 400 company at this point. But I think the smart speaker device category is going to create a real problem for a lot of people. Up until now, it's been relatively easy to stay within an ecosystem, whether that be Google's, Apple's, Microsoft's, and hell, throw in Samsung there as well. But because of how inexpensive a lot of these smart assistant devices have become, a lot of people I think are going to wind up finding themselves with either multiple or all three of the main assistants in their home. And these assistants are not likely to work well with each other. Now, is this a bad thing? Well, no, maybe not, but it sure is going to be annoying. I've already found myself half the time saying, "Hey Google," to my iPhone. Now, perhaps the solution will be just to use all three different assistants for different things. Use the Google Home for general search queries, directions, use Amazon's Alexa for shopping and buying things, and then use Siri for texting or music playback. This is kind of a stopgap solution though, and it's not very optimal. I still feel like most people are going to want to talk to just one assistant versus talking to three different assistants that don't all work well together. Such is what happens in technology though. Typically when you have a new technology come out into the marketplace, things are going to be pretty messy, and it looks like in the smart assistant devices space in the technology sector right now, it's going to stay messy for quite a while, but hopefully it'll all sort out in the next few years. So what did you guys think? Feel free to leave a comment below on what you thought about Apple's HomePod, WWDC, and the current state of the smart assistant device market. Also, feel free, if you like this video, to subscribe to the channel so that way more of these videos will pop up in your feed. I'm Josh Tedder, and this has been a Trending Topics video.